Hi, this is Craig with Sulcata Grove. I'm here with Courtney today, and we're going to be eating the Cogshall mango. I usually pronounce it Cogshall, but it actually is supposed to be Cogshall. It's the guy's name that whose yard it showed up in. This is a semi-dwarf mango tree, and for me, it's a little bit of a hit or miss sometimes with the flavor of the mango. Sometimes it's really good and sometimes it's not, off the same tree. It just has to do with when they're picked and how they're ripened, and I haven't quite figured out the best way to do them yet to get better results. It's a pretty mango. It gets a lot of, if it gets sun exposure,
it's really yellow on the inside.
Let's see. Celeste is not in this video because she does not like, when the Cogshall is not good, she does not like it at all. What do you think?
I think it's kind of piney.
Yeah, this is to me, now this one to me is a good one, but not perfect. It does have, definitely has some piney resinousness to it. Celeste thinks that this one has an unpleasant undertone to it that she compares to when you throw up and catch it in the back of your mouth, kind of a thing. I certainly don't. I can detect the flavor that she's talking about. It's not nearly that distinct, but there are some tones that I can see how somebody wouldn't like. I don't particularly dislike them. Some people might actually even like this. It's in the resinous class of flavors, and the resinous flavors in mangoes can be very subjective.
I'm just not a big fan of the piney or the resinous mangoes.
Yeah. It's got some spiciness to it. It's got some pine. What'd you call it, Brooke?
Well, some of the pieces are good, but I just had one which is really bad.
Well, that's another thing, is that it doesn't always ripen evenly, and I've had this too, where one side of the mango tastes very different from the other side of the mango. Again, that's one of Celeste's things that she doesn't like about this one, is there's just a little bit of a toss-up on each bite if you're going to like it or not. This one in particular, to me, it has a little bit of an alcoholic flavor to it. I don't think it's fermented. I don't think. This one was still, I'm pretty sure it's not, but it still has that kind of the resinous flavor has kind of an alcoholic tone to it. But it's not overpowering though. It's a sweet, it's citrusy, it has a great texture to it, but it just has a very strong, couple of very strong different resinous tones to it, and it's not even, it's not one of my favorite mangoes. That was a very resinous bite. A lot of the popularity, I think, of the Cogshall has to do with the tree itself. It's a dwarf tree, or at least a semi-dwarf, and there aren't that many mangoes that you can put in small spaces, and it is good for that. And it's a pretty mango. It's a fairly large mango, and it produces pretty well. So it does have some things going for it. Flavor-wise, it might be a little more of an acquired taste. I think if you ate a lot of these, or you grew up eating these, it would be something that you would, really kind of crave because it's very different. But it's, as somebody who likes sweeter mangoes, this one is a little bit harsh.
And you never know what you're gonna get.
And it's very variable as well. And on the same tree, we've been trying to kind of pick these because I had some of these that were better than this one, and it's just we haven't quite figured out how to get them uniform, or if it's possible to get them uniform. Because like I said, even on one fruit, it can be different on different sides. Overall, I would probably give this one about a 5.5. The best ones that I've had would probably be more like 7.5, and the worst ones are almost inedible. So I'm somewhere around the 5.5.
I'd probably give it more like a 2, and it only gets the 2 for like the texture and the lack of really bad flavor.
It's not full of like ants or anything.
Yeah, that's always a plus.
It's not bad. It just has a strong flavor, and again, all those other things that just kind of make it variable onto whether or not the bite you have is going to be a good one. I think it would be very good in something if you were making smoothies or something where you could dilute that resin a little bit. To me, that would be a little bit better. But yeah, overall, I do have a tree in the ground. It's one we've been kind of talking about maybe top working. So for now, we'll let it stay. But just not one of my favorites.
It's so piney that you could put your gifts under it during Christmas.
Well, there you have it.
Ooh.
And burn is just burning on the Cogshall here.
I'm not a fan.
All right. All right. Well, that's it for this one, and we'll see you next week.
Pick the mango from the tree, and the mango down to me. Put the mango in a sack.